Up and down the country, the economic downturn is playing a massive part in increasing the pressure faced by local councils dealing with the legacy of empty properties and squatters. Here in Leicester, this newly refurbished development of 16 flats has fallen foul of the credit crunch, with all the apartments being repossessed by the mortgage companies. Today, Enforcement Officer Steve from the council, supported by the police, is here to evict some squatters who've been continually breaking into the block.
This property's been vacant for about 6 months now. It's been boarded up by various people, but we've had a problem with drug addicts going in, breaking in, and basically we're going to have to really secure it extremely well today to stop them getting back in again.
With the police gaining access to the building, a steady stream of squatters reluctantly start to appear.
Pass your stuff out, gents. Just collect your kit, fellas, and we'll just do some checks with you outside before we release you, okay? Satisfied customer. Yeah.
With a total of 4 squatters evicted from the ground floor, Steve and Sergeant Hutchins can now move on to the flats above. This time, though, a little more force is required.
Okay. Clear. Yeah, there's nobody in that one.
After having a look round, the police are satisfied that the rest of the flats are empty.
We're happy that these premises are clear.
With the all clear from the police, Steve can now carry out a thorough inspection of every flat and find out what surprises have been left by the squatters for him to deal with.
Oh dear.
It's not a job he relishes. Environmental Enforcement Officer Steve is now starting his tour of the flats to evaluate their state after the squatter's eviction.
You can see what's happened here. This is an example where somebody's defaulted on the mortgage and somebody's been under the lock change.
These flats may all have been privately owned, but as far as the council is concerned, they represent a serious health hazard to the public, with needles and drug paraphernalia strewn throughout. And it falls upon Steve to take responsibility for the flat's future security and cleanliness.
Oh, right, the first thing that hits you when you come in here, it's that smell. It's stale urine, I think it is. Oh dear, yes. I think this is where we've been having a bit of a party by the looks of it. This is going to need to be completely cleaned out, carpets removed. So we'll have to get some skips in and do that. We can't leave this like this. There's obviously clear evidence of a substantial drug injection here. Needles on the table. There's no sharps boxes. They're not disposing of them properly. So you could well find them stuck in. Quite often we find them stuck in the sides of the beds and stuck under the beds into the mattress. We will have to get specialist contractors in to clear this because there's obviously a risk of needle stick injury. The other problem is because we've had drug addicts in here, we don't know what else they've been up to, so there's highly likely, there could be all sorts of things left in here. So I'm not going to delve too deeply.
But as is often the case, it's not just the needles that now constitute a health risk. The squatters' bathroom habits leave a lot to be desired.
Ah, yes, right. Oh dear. We knew they were going for the toilet somewhere. Oh dear. That's where the smell's coming from then. This is the kind of thing that we have to get cleaned up as a local authority. We can't leave this sort of stuff lying around.
It's soon apparent to Steve that most of the flats are in a potentially hazardous state. He and his team are going to have to work fast to secure the building.
It's not safe to leave it like this. We'll make it secure today, just stop the drug addicts getting back in, and then we'll take longer term action to clear it out. We can't leave a property like this in the middle of Leicester.
Not only is there the danger that someone could get hurt entering these flats, there's also the real threat of the building becoming a fire hazard. So Steve is taking no chances this time in boarding up the block. He hopes these grills will prove impregnable.
We've had panelling on there before, timber panelling before, and it just gets ripped off. This stuff is screwed to the brickwork, so it's hard work to get it off, and this should keep them out.
Steve can only pray that his team's hard work will keep the squatters out, while he serves notice on the mortgage lenders to force them to pay for the clear-up. A few days after evicting some habitual squatters from a newly refurbished block of flats, Environmental Officer Steve's worst nightmare has come true. Overnight, someone has managed somehow to break back into the property, and the top floor flats have been set on fire. At first light, he's on site to inspect the damage.
Oh dear, what a mess. This is what we were trying to prevent. by getting the property boarded up, trying to stop all this happening. The building's not structurally safe as well neither at the moment. This is now ruined and it's going to cost a lot of money to sort it out. All these timbers have been weakened, the complete structure's going to have to be taken down and rebuilt. It's going to be an enormous cost, so it's a lot of work that could have been prevented. There's going to be a lot of toxic debt in here, I think.
It's highly likely that the whole block will now have to be demolished and rebuilt. This may be an extreme case, but it graphically illustrates what the councils are up against in their fight to keep one step ahead of the squatters and drug users. The dangers of the discarded syringes still remain.
Whilst you can't see them, we know there were needles here before, that there'll be needles everywhere, yeah, and all sorts of material washed down by the fire brigade when they put the fire out. So this material in here is contaminated. You know, it's got to be taken out very carefully.
Until last night, Steve was responsible for an expensive clear-up of the hundreds of needles, drug paraphernalia and human excrement. Now he's left with a burnt-out building and a scene of total devastation.